John Bercow finally resigns as Speaker of the House of Commons, Boris and Nigel Farage are urged not to split the Brexit vote, and the Liberal Democrats think that they can win the election. Now, yesterday we started the show by giving you some good news after a long time of receiving a lot of negative news when it comes to Brexit and the whole country. Today we have another good news. John Bercow, Speaker of the House of Commons, has finally resigned. Today was his last day, and he gave a lot of the Remainer MPs gave him a lot of random tributes, and he ended up crying as always. Now, this is the Speaker that has destroyed the convention when it comes to the House of Commons and parliamentary procedures in the name of modernising the process. He has overruled a number of decisions that has affected British politics on a daily basis, and so we're not really going to miss him, but we're going to miss the way he used to say order.
Order! Sit, order! I know what I'm doing. Order!
Now, onto the news of the election, and obviously we have two parties standing on the platform of Brexit, the Conservative Party and the Brexit Party. Now, both sides have been urged not to split the votes by standing in every seat. There's going to be a lot of tactical voting. As we mentioned yesterday, Leave.eu, the campaign group, are coming up with an app to help Brexiteers decide, depending on where you live, if you want to vote tactically, because obviously in certain areas, if it's a complete Labour seat and the Tories have no chance, Brexit Party might have a chance, and some seats that is a Labour-Tory marginal, voting for the Brexit Party is basically voting for Jeremy Corbyn. And there's obviously, when we have more information on that app, we'll let you know. But inside the Brexit Party, there are also a lot of discussions and conflicts, because there are different teams. Obviously, there were a number of Brexit Party MEPs and members who backed Boris Johnson's deal, so it's not that all the Brexit Party members are for no deal. I mean, ideally they are, but they compromised with Boris's deal. Now we have a new information. John Longworth, one of the senior Brexit Party MEPs and the chairman of the Leave Means Leave campaign group, has sent a message to Nigel Farage and the rest of his party. He's told Nigel Farage to concentrate on 20 seats that will deliver Brexit. Nigel Farage's Brexit Party should abandon plans to target 600 constituencies at the general election and focus on about 20 mostly pro-Leave Labour seats, according to one of its senior MEPs. John Longworth, who represents Yorkshire and the Humber, said that his party should be sensible and focus on securing the result that would best further the cause of Brexit. Getting pro-Leave MPs returned to Westminster was the most important thing, he said. John's comments were backed up by Aaron Banks, who's close to Nigel Farage. He said that this is a common sense approach. I'd put it at the nearer 40 seats. Better to win some seats and possibly hold balance of power like the DUP than split the Brexit vote. The voters will reward a pragmatic approach. Now, following what happened over the last couple of weeks with Boris Johnson's deal and some of the Brexit Party members making comments saying, you know, we're fine, we can live with this, and not obeying the party line, Richard Tice, the chairman of the Brexit Party, has now given a warning to his members. Brexit Party chairman Richard Tice has just given a speech to staffers this morning, warning to be careful who they speak to, even if you think they are a friend. But regardless of who you're going to be supporting, the Tories or the Brexit Party, the moment the election is actually officially called, which will be next week, we'll find out what the actual manifestos are and how each party is doing in the polls and depending on each area. So you'll find out more when it comes to your own local constituency rather than looking at it on a national level, because people keep forgetting. In this country, you do not vote for the leader. It's not a presidential system. You vote in your area for your local candidate. So people thinking they're going out there to vote for Jeremy Corbyn or Boris Johnson or Nigel Farage, they're mistaken, because that's not how first past the post works. So even if the Lib Dems or the Brexit Party or the Tories do really well in the election in terms of the popular vote, doesn't mean that they're going to get the majority of the seats. So we'll find out more about that. But let's move on to some more good news. Remainers are leaving Parliament. It's finally time to get rid of some of these Tory, Labour and Lib Dem Remainer MPs who have blocked Brexit and basically destroyed our British democracy in a very short space of time. Firstly, Amber Rudd, who gave up her whip as a Tory MP, received this letter from the Conservative whip. So the Conservative Chief Whip, Mark Spencer, sent a letter to Amber Rudd and said that she won't be getting the Tory whip back. He told her that he doesn't trust her not to turn on Boris Johnson again. Now, Marcus Spencer says that ever since he's joined the whip's office, he's seen the effects of ill discipline on the parliamentary party and the damage that it has done to our wider politics. He says that, I appreciate that you surrendered the whip in an act of solidarity, but I am of the view that the receipt of the whip is an honour, not a right, and as such it cannot be discarded or returned at will if it is to have any meaning. So see, it's not just the Brexit party that have problems with discipline, it's also the Tories. But at least the Tories are now trying to get rid of their Remainer MPs, and a number of MPs who have been trying to block Brexit have already declared that they're not going to be standing in the next election. And let's have a look at some of our favourites and say goodbye to them. First, we have Theresa May's former deputy, David Lidington. Next, we have Winston Churchill's grandson, Nicholas Soames. And then we have one of the most useless MPs in the south of England, Richard Harrington. And Owen Smith, the former challenger to the leadership of the Labour Party, also useless. And next is Amber Rudd, who is definitely not going to be missed. Next is one of the most damaging members of the Liberal Democrats, Vince Cable. And then we move on to one of the most damaging members of the Conservative Party, Oliver Letwin. You won't be missed either. Then we have one of the leading figures of the People's Vote campaign, Justine Greening. And finally, Rory Stewart. I don't even know what to say about this one because I just can't be bothered. So goodbye, Rory. Now, we were talking about the Liberal Democrats and how delusional they are. Earlier on Politics Live, one of the members was talking about how they're going to win the election, form a government, and they're going to revoke Article 50, and that's going to fix all the problems.
We are clear. We, on day one, would revoke Article 50. There would be a boom to the economy at that point. Money can then be spent on those public services that people want.
Matthew, you're laughing.
I just like the idea that revoking Article 50 will make Brexit go away, as if everybody just packs up and goes home and says, OK, this is all done and dusted, let's move on. I think it's just crazy.
And
I think let me just finish. I think if the Lib Dems win a majority of this election, I'll eat my new book, because that's not going to happen. I think maximum you're going to get 40. I think you'll get 40 on a good day, maybe 35, 40 seats, maybe something like that.
The problem is, at best, they're going to be able to form a coalition with the Labour Party, and that's if the Brexit Party split the Brexit vote with the Tories and neither of them get a majority. This will happen, obviously. Labour and the Lib Dems could form a coalition, but then they have to come up with a clear policy, because one side wants to completely revoke Article 50, the other side wants to have a second referendum. Obviously, both will lead to cancelling Brexit. But they can't just go around and say we're going to form a government. It doesn't really work that way. On the other side, we move on to Michael Heseltine. You remember Heseltine, the guy that tried to replace Margaret Thatcher as a Conservative Prime Minister, and ever since then he's been one of the biggest opponents to us leaving the European Union and having self-governance. He basically, in an interview, once again, said that people didn't know what they voted for, and the reason the Leave votes actually happened and Brexit happened was because of austerity for some reason.
The whole of Brexit is a protest against austerity. The 10 years that have followed the collapse of 2008 have created a demand for change. Change in living standards, change in optimism. And Brexit has come in as a sort of the excuse, the sort of alibi.
Okay, considering there have been a lot of people, including myself, who've been campaigning for Brexit, I myself, for the past 10, 12 years, and there were a lot of people who've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years. So austerity, this so-called austerity that the Tories have started, began in 2010. I mean, even if they did really. And you're saying that basically Brexit happened because of the 2010 financial situation. Okay, sure, Michael. But as we said before, this channel is going to be your go-to place for the general election updates. Every day we're going to be having a show, and I'm going to go around the country to different regions, different areas, all the marginal seats, to speak to people and speak to all the candidates to kind of see what they actually stand for. Brexit Party candidates, Tory candidates, Labour candidates, and it will be kind of interesting to keep up. So make sure you subscribe to this channel and click on the bell next to it so you get notified when videos come out every day. And if you want to keep up with everyday updates, you could follow me on Twitter or Instagram. You can find the details down here. And on that note, we're going to end this show by showing you a clip of Boris Johnson giving John Bercow a tribute, which basically, it sounded like a compliment, but technically it wasn't.
But, Mr. Speaker, I know the whole House will want to join me in recording that after 10 tumultuous years, this is your last Prime Minister's questions. And as befits a distinguished former Wimbledon competitor, you have sat up there in your high chair, not just as an umpire, ruthlessly adjudicating on the finer points of parliamentary procedure with your trademark Tony Montana scowl, Mr. Speaker. Not just as a commentator, offering your own opinions on the rallies you are watching, sometimes acerbic and sometimes kindly, but above all as a player in your own right, peppering every part of the chamber with your own thoughts and opinions, like some tennis ball machine, some uncontrollable tennis ball machine, Mr. Speaker, delivering a series of literally unplayable, unreturnable, formally unreturnable volleys and smashes. And although we may disagree about some of the legislative innovations that you have favoured, and you have cared so deeply for the rights of backbenchers that you've done more than anyone since Stephen Hawking to stretch time in this particular session. And as we come to the end of what must be the longest retirement since Frank Sinatra, Mr. Speaker, I'm sure the whole House will want to join me in thanking you and hoping that you enjoy in your retirement the soothing medicament that you have so often prescribed for the rest of us.